When you settle in to watch a really great film and you get completely lost in it, the world, the story, have you ever just paused and thought about the sheer scale of what's going on behind the scenes? It feels like magic, right? But what's actually happening is this incredibly complex dance with hundreds of artists and technicians.
Oh, absolutely. It's a massive orchestration. It really is. The films we love, they don't just happen by accident. They're meticulously planned, crafted, brought to life by this army of unsung heroes, and their contributions are just as vital, maybe even more so sometimes, than the actors you see right there on screen.
Right, from like sculpting light and building entire worlds.
To just keeping the whole massive, intricate thing running on time and, crucially, on budget. These people, they're the real architects of what we experience. So today, let's pull back that curtain. Let's do a deep dive into who these people are and, what they actually do day to day.
Okay, so our mission today really is to give you a shortcut, a way to get truly well-informed about this whole collaborative world of filmmaking. We want to shine a light on those key players, the ones who take a script, just words on a page, and turn it into this living, breathing story. And often without getting the credit they really deserve. All right, let's start with the visual architects, the people who literally shape what we see and how it makes us feel. First up, the cinematographer, also known as the director of photography or DP. They're doing a lot more than just operating the camera, aren't they?
Oh, far, far more. The DP heads up the camera and the lighting departments. Often they're the director's closest creative partner. Their job is basically to translate the director's vision into the visual language of the film itself. And it's not just pointing and shooting, like you said. They are actively sculpting light. They're choosing specific lenses, crafting camera movements. All of it is meant to evoke emotion, to push the story forward. They're the gatekeepers for everything you, the audience, finally see.
Wow, that's a huge impact. But I wonder, don't the director and the DP sometimes have, different ideas, conflicting visions? How does that usually get worked out, that creative tension?
Oh, it definitely happens. But a good DP is both an interpreter and an innovator. They work hard to get the director's core intention right. And then they find creative ways to nail it visually. Sometimes they even push that vision further. Think about how a DP might use just one harsh overhead light. Suddenly, that interrogation scene feels incredibly oppressive.
Right, you feel it instantly.
Exactly. Or maybe the opposite, soft, dappled light from behind someone immediately tells you they're vulnerable even before they say a word. So their responsibilities cover lighting design for mood, camera placement, movement for story, choosing the right lens for perspective or effect. It's vast.
Okay, but what about the bigger picture?
Yeah.
The whole world we get dropped into, the environments. That brings us to the production designer. I like to call him the visionary architect of the film.
That's a great way to put it. The production designer, they establish the overall look and feel, the mise en scène, as it's called, for the entire film. And this isn't just, putting some furniture in a room. They're basically pre-programming your emotional response to every space you see. They do tons of research, create mood boards, sketches. They figure out the color palette, the textures, the architectural styles. Think about Blade Runner, that drenched neon dystopia.
Edible.
Or the Grand Budapest Hotel, that meticulous, quirky charm.
Very Wes Anderson. Yeah.
Right? Those aren't accidents. That's world building by an amazing production designer.
So it's definitely not just about looking good. These choices hit character, narrative. Can a production designer's choices actually influence how an actor performs? Like if the set feels so real?
Absolutely, 100%. Imagine a character's home if it's opulent but designed with, say, oppressive colors or tight spaces. It can feel like a gilded cage. Or a really bleak, empty landscape can say so much about a character's inner turmoil. The environment itself becomes this silent storyteller. It affects the audience, for sure, but it often really inspires the actors, too, gives them that tangible context.
Okay, so we've got these incredible visuals captured, but how do they all come together, become a story with rhythm, emotion? That sounds like the magic, often invisible magic, of the editor.
Invisible art, that's what they call it sometimes. And the editor is honestly the final storyteller. No exaggeration. They take literally hundreds of hours of raw footage, all those takes, angles, everything, and they painstakingly assemble it. They build the cohesive, compelling narrative. It's really in the edit suite that the film finds its rhythm, its pace, its ultimate emotional punch. And this process, it can sometimes totally transform the material. They're essentially rewriting the film, but with images and sound.
Wow. So thinking about that, how much of a film's emotional power is really found in editing versus just captured on set? Does that mean they sometimes have to make really tough calls? Like maybe cutting a brilliant bit from an actor if it just doesn't serve the overall film?
An incredible amount is found in the edit, and yes, tough calls are constant, daily. The editor controls what you see, when you see it, and for precisely how long. Think about that power. A well-timed cut can build insane suspense, right? Or land a perfect comedic beat, or just deliver this huge emotional gut punch. They select the best takes, arrange shots to tell the story effectively. They even refine actor performances by choosing the most impactful moments, expressions, reactions. And they work super closely with sound designers, composers, weaving in dialogue, effects, music to build atmosphere and drama. A lot of the time, the editor is also problem solving, figuring out how to make shots that weren't meant to go together connect seamlessly. They really shape your whole experience.
Okay, so all these amazing visual artists, the story weavers, they all depend on this incredibly organized logistical team just to get the work done. Which brings us to the assistant director, the AD.
Yeah, and it's really important to clarify this. The AD team, especially the first AD who leads it, they're not assisting the director with creative stuff. Instead, the first AD is the logistical backbone of the whole production when they're on set. Their main job is scheduling, managing the crew, keeping everything running on time, which is huge, and making sure the set is safe and efficient. They're like the operational bridge, between the director's big ideas and actually making it happen on the ground. I remember hearing about a first AD who literally had to, politely but very firmly herd a flock of geese offset.
Disease. Seriously.
Yeah. Because the geese decided the middle of the shot was the perfect place for their morning walk. It sounds funny, but it's that constant battle managing the unexpected.
Okay, that paints a picture. So the first AD is really the ultimate timekeeper, the problem solver. Without a good AD, even the most brilliant creative vision could just fall apart into chaos, right?
Completely. And think about this. Before the AD can even start scheduling, you need somewhere to actually film, which leads us neatly into location scouting. And it's way more than just finding a pretty spot. The location manager and their team, they're looking at so many factors. Aesthetics, sure, does it fit the script, but also logistics. Can we get the crew and all the equipment in? Is there parking? Space for catering? What about sound? Is there constant traffic noise? Airplanes overhead? How does the natural light work there throughout the day? And, of course, the big one, permits and permissions. All those practical things are just as vital as how it looks.
It's really fascinating how a great location can almost become another character in the movie. It sets the mood, tells you about a character's background, gives context. It can really deepen the audience's emotional connection. The right setting just makes the whole world feel so much more real, more immersive, adds that depth.
Absolutely. And then these carefully chosen locations get filled with the film crews, which are structured like this. Highly specialized little ecosystem. You've got departments like the producers overseeing everything, the art department handling the production design, the camera department for the DP. Then grip and lighting the grips are the technicians who handle rigging, camera support like dollies and cranes, and work with the electricians to shape the light, all hand in hand with the DP. Then you've got sound, makeup, hair, costumes, stunts, special effects. And later, the post-production teams like editors and visual effects artists. Each team relies on the others.
The coordination must be incredible. Just imagine, like, a complex action sequence. The camera team needs a specific rig. The grips are setting up safety gear and lights. The AD is coordinating the timing perfectly with stunt performers, special effects. All in sync. You mentioned the pressure, the long hours. How do crews keep that intensity, that creativity going under such relentless demand?
Honestly, it's sheer passion and professionalism. But yeah, set life is incredibly demanding. We're talking 12, 14, even 16-hour days sometimes. Intense pressure, constant problem solving, often in terrible weather. And this brings up a really important point about safety. A huge danger, often overlooked, is fatigue, especially driving home after those punishing hours. Crew members might work all night, then face a long commute totally exhausted. The risk of accidents is significantly higher. It's a critical safety issue the industry is, constantly grappling with.
So before any of that intense on-set stuff happens, there's this massive amount of planning. We're talking scheduling and budgeting. You call them the twin pillars of production.
That's right. Managed mostly by the producer and their team, the line producer, unit production manager. And they're completely intertwined. You can't really change one without affecting the other. And they always need adapting. The schedule, usually drafted by the first AD, breaks the script down scene by scene, figures out the most efficient shooting order. They have to juggle location availability, actor schedules, sometimes even sunrise and sunset times for specific shots. Meanwhile, the line producer is building that budget, meticulously tracking every single cost, crew wages, gear rentals, location fees, food, permits, everything. And crucially, always building in contingency funds. Because things will go wrong. unexpected costs always pop up.
And all that planning leads to the pre-production checklist,
Mm-hmm.
which you described as the roadmap to shoot day, that critical phase before filming starts. It's usually the toughest part of getting through that checklist.
Often it's just the sheer number of interconnected pieces and dependencies. It's like a giant puzzle. This checklist covers everything. Locking the final script, nailing down the budget and schedule details, hiring all the crew, casting actors, securing location permits, maybe doing storyboards, finalizing production design elements, renting all the equipment, and getting all the necessary insurance and legal contracts signed. If you miss just one single item, it can cause really expensive delays or even halt production completely. So it's about building the strongest possible foundation, usually under pretty tight deadlines.
Yeah, it really highlights how crucial that detailed planning and teamwork is in pre-production. It's like the best insurance against problems cropping up once you're actually shooting. Plan well, anticipate issues, solve them before they cost a fortune on set.
Exactly right. And a huge part of that strong foundation is the legal safety net. We're talking permits, insurance, and releases. Permits are the official okay to film somewhere specific, avoids fines, getting shut down, manages public impact. Insurance is vital. Comprehensive policies covering general liability, damage to equipment, workers' comp if someone gets hurt, and also errors and omissions or E&O insurance. That's crucial. It protects against claims like copyright infringement, libel, invasion of privacy, basically covering the creative content itself. Then you need releases. Legal forms giving permission to use locations, the actors' likenesses, any copyrighted stuff like music or art you might show.
So these aren't just annoying bits of paper. They're absolutely non-negotiable tools that protect the whole project legally and financially.
Absolutely, non-negotiable. And all this planning, this legal stuff, this logistical framework, it all boils down to the day-to-day operations on set. And that's where the call sheet becomes like the daily Bible for absolutely everyone. The second AD puts this together meticulously, usually distributed the night before the next day's shoot. It lists all the key production info, who needs to be where and when, crew and cast call times, exactly which scenes are being shot, the precise location, directions, parking info, weather forecast, even the contact details for the nearest hospital. It's the central info hub.
It might seem like just admin, but yeah, its impact is huge. The call sheet is that critical piece that keeps everyone on the same page. Director, actors, PAs, everyone has the same info. Prevents total chaos, ensures accountability. The set would just grind to a halt without it. Okay, so we get the tech, the logistics mastered, but you still need the right people on screen. Which brings us to the art, really, of casting actors.
Definitely an art. And it's so much more than just finding someone who looks the part. It's about finding actors who can truly embody the character's essence, deliver dialogue naturally, authentically, and create that compelling chemistry with the other actors. The casting director is a key creative partner here. They scout talent, run auditions, present options to the director, drawing on this huge network they have. Sometimes, a casting director might suggest someone totally unexpected, someone who looks different from what the director first pictured. But their essence is so perfect for the character that it completely redefines the role, leads to those unforgettable performances.
Yeah, it sounds like a really high-pressure audition process for the actors, too, where filmmakers aren't just looking for talent, but also things like adaptability, how they connect with others in callbacks. If they really understand the character's journey, they need people who can collaborate well, be a positive force in that ensemble.
Exactly. So if we try and tie all these pieces together, the creative, the logistical, you see how they combine differently depending on the project scale. And that's where you get the distinction between, say, an indie versus studio film. Indie films are usually made outside the big studio system, often lower budgets, maybe more creative freedom, funded by private investors or even crowdfunding. Studio films, big budgets, big stars, massive marketing campaigns, but often, more layers of creative oversight. They're aiming for broad commercial success, a huge audience.
It is interesting how those lines seem to be blurring more these days, isn't it? You see indie films getting picked up by studio indie arms, or directors making an indie feature to get noticed before tackling a big studio movie. And sometimes they go back to indie filmmaking later for passion projects. It seems less like a rigid hierarchy now, more about finding the right path for a specific story or career goal. Well, this has been an absolutely incredible deep dive into that hidden world behind the camera. We've really shone a light on the sheer depth of collaboration, the artistry, the intense planning that goes into making a film, often by people whose names, we just don't hear that often.
It really is this grand orchestration of so many diverse talents, every single role. From the production designer dreaming up worlds to the AD keeping the train on the tracks, each one is indispensable. Every single person on that crew contributes to the collective magic we end up seeing in the cinema or at home.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, maybe next time you settle in for a movie, just pause for a second. Think about all that unseen artistry, that incredible logistical effort packed into every single frame. Maybe you'll spot the subtle lighting that sets a mood, or a perfectly designed set that feels like its own character. Or even just appreciate the seamless rhythm the editor created. What new layer of craft will you notice now, beyond just the actors, that really brings that story to life? It might just change how you watch movies forever.